Welcome to Everything St. Lucie, the vibrant heart of community storytelling. Here, we explore the essence of who we are, our people, places, past and present. This season, we're diving deep into We Heritage, uncovering the rich tapestry of history and culture that makes St. Lucie truly special. From hidden gems to treasured traditions. Come, take a journey with us as we showcase the beauty and the resilience of St. Lucie, bridging the past to the present in unforgettable ways. Get ready to celebrate We Heritage, a little of this and a little of that. You won't want to miss a moment. Join us as we uncover the rich tapestry of history and culture of Josey Hill with Mr. Juel Headley.
Where we are is basically what we refer to as the top of Josey Hill, the highest point and the most easterly point. Now this overlooks St. Clement's, which is short here. You can see the church, the burial ground, what was the old school, which is now Ignatius Bar, the Rockfield, and you go up here, you see cemetery there. There's Well Road going straight up. Well Road leads right up to a little bay, and then you go further south, you get Pike Corner proper, the Cove Bay, and short here where you see the big houses, the last row of houses, you go right up Chandler's Hill, and up Cave Hill is the Adventist Church in the distance there. Then you go into Graveyard, and that road then leads into Tapestry Hill, which is the most southerly, and then Boscobel. Now, why should I point out that a lot of the families in Josey Hill, really not Josey Hill proper, actually originated over on that hill over here. That hill over there, Lambert Hill. A lot of the houses were over there. My mother was born over there. We own land, and a lot of the families, you had the main families in Josey Hill. You find the Babs, the Gills, Boyce, Collymore, Headley, Springer, and then they intermarry, and so you got a hybrids and so on. And then anybody else who come, we call them communes. Great. You know, this hill, there were tracks, car roads, and to go to school, the children on this side of the hill would come down through here, because let's say we have not say track down through here. The ones on the other side, Peter says, would come around the other side of the hill here, or down through the gully, and then they meet at the bottom here and go on to school. The same thing happens with the water. The water from the church, the Pentecostal church, that runs and come down through here, the middle here. Then water from Lambert's and the other side of Peter says, come at the other ravine there, and they meet, and they by this bush here, come down behind St. Clement's Church, and there's a drop there. So when you call it the gully out, when that had a heavy rainfall, you would have like a waterfall behind there. Then that water goes out to behind the cemetery and ends up in Chandler Bay, over the big rocks are. So the water from here drains out there. And so if we had heavy rainfall, instead of using the channel, the gully, we would then come around the side of the hill. But it was easy to go through the channel, because every summer we would just clear the path and make sure that the path is straight. Back then we had no monkeys either. That's why I take offense when people said we invade the monkeys' habitat. They came and found us, until they pay taxes, we will not accept them. Right. So there was a lot of movement down here. The other thing to point out down here too is that there are a lot of caves in this area, and you see the ridges around here. A lot of trees cover it, but during the summer we would get crocus bags. That grass you see there, when that get dry, we would cut that, make a little bundle, and we light it, and smoke out the bees and pick honey. We had some guys who would get the crocus bodies, cut out the arms and so on and go in there with the non-pickers and so on. But that's how we had lunch. The grape trees, plenty grape trees, plenty don'ts. And we play up here most of the day, and that was lunch. Grapes, don'ts, plums, whatever we could find in these hills. Talking about the caves again, we used to time the school bus by the sound coming from this gully. Now, the bus would come across Lowland Long Road, and sometimes you just trying to get dressed, and you listen to the noise, so you hear that loud noise coming that direction. But the bus would go up to Josey Hill, and then turn around and come back down. But you can tell when the bus is by St. Clement's, or going up Chandler's Hill, but the echo in the gully, the sound will echo down there, and you know the different levels, the different tones, and depending on where it is, you know about look, the bus then at the top of Charlie Hill take off, and you would go back down. There's another track I will show you later that goes down to Lowland. So we would maneuver through these hills using our natural instincts and understanding the landscape, the topography, and basically survival skills. And using nature to guide us around this place. Now, the families started right here. The top here was the Springers, and this is where we came to watch TV. Somebody beat out the pipe, and same with Josey Hill, people always like to cook a lot. So you would hang around with this one, was known for sweet bread, somebody was known for something else, and you would hang around, play until you sniff and determine how far the pot is, and then you hang around, you get a meal, you know. So we started being fed from here and go westward. Right. So this spot here has special memories for me. Two things. There was a big mulch tree here. With the trunk was like a fork, and we would come here to study because it was cold, peaceful, and I did a lot of my study for my O levels right on this spot. These rocks here were our benches, and a lot of us would have gone to St. Clement's, us from Josey Hill, and of course the ones from Pike Corner go to St. Clement's. So you develop friendships, and then of course you go to the school and then the church. So when you become teenagers now, you're gonna be tussling. So tussling now, the boys or girls will come up from Pike Corner up through the hill here, and the ones from Josey Hill come and meet here, and sometimes you'll come and find the bench taken up, so you have to go look for another spot. Right. So you sit here and you court. Now this hill was also full of we call it silgrass or the maypole. Just like this, there were a lot of these maypoles all over this hill. You see one coming up here now, one there. But this hill was dotted with maypoles. And these were our chat rooms. We used to text back in the day, right? So you would break off the tip at this leaf here, and this would be our pencil. And we would write, we could find one here, and we would write on the silgrass. You put like John loves Mary, and then you do a heart with a little arrow through it, and that would stay there for months and months and months. And that, so you know, that's how we used to text back in the day. That was our chat room. So if you do something like this here, and you do come up here and you do your little heart, it come down there, so, and then you come down here like this here. Yeah, and this is memories coming back, right? And you do your little heart, and then you do a little note on it there. Now you got like the arrow come down through there, the arrow, your little tail, and your little point down there, and you do a little note on it there. So with your name and who loves who. So when you pass up, you know this is about territory. So don't. Yeah. So you sit down here and chat, and then you do your note, say you text on this here. And that used to be fun. And these were all over the hill. Yeah. Right. And the house here was the first to have running water in the village. And that pipe ran from, you see the greenhouse down yonder? The hill? Right down there. The pipe for here ran from all the way by the standpipe down there, right here, right to this house here. So the houses up here would go there and get water from there. And then there was a mechanic's garage here. One of his sons had a garage there, the mechanic. But they're all in America. They migrated to America. And the house a few years ago got pushed down. But a lot of people ask about buying it here, but you get the view. But people don't accept Lucy don't let go land yet. They don't. They leave all land very precious, sacred almost. No. In the distance, this one, oh, this hill, that's referred to as Mount Johnson. Wait, on the Austins family live over here. The Austins. When you want to, then this house, Miss Leslie, she had the first phone on this side. So when somebody call you, get on her number, and you run from home all the way up here to get a phone message. I did that quite often. Because we go down this side here. We go down here a little bit. But these are Calimores. The Calimore family. Mm-hmm. And the Calimores related to the Boyces.
Everybody related.
Yeah, right. And they collect the Boyces and put corner, and Calimores and put corner. Right. There was an unfortunate incident in the 1970s where a young lady from the area, her body was found around this clump of trees here, right in front of me here. Straight ahead here, that clump of trees. It was draped around the base of the tree there. The tree is still there. Right. She was a teenager, and to the best of my knowledge, that murder has not been solved. And that is probably the only stain that I can recall on the character of this area. And it was believed that it might have been done by somebody from outside, but we don't know. But it happened after there was a dance. There's a place down the hill here that was known for the dances and fetes and so on. And she was last seen at that event. And then the next morning, someone, because we would go down, this was another road down to school. And someone saw this body up in the hill. And when we investigated, it was her body draped around the base of a tree. And if you consider terrain, it would have to be that she would have to be murdered up there rather than being lifted. And given her, she was a big girl, and given her size, somebody to lift her up there. But that has, unfortunately, not been solved, and that happened back in the 1970s. I don't hear any mention about it now. I suspect a lot of youngsters don't know about that particular incident. But generally, Josey Hill has been rather peaceful. A lot of families are interconnected, so there's that community support for each other. Here will be the bathroom for some people, laundry room for others. You will bring the cows, you bring put a pan in here, catch water, and you bring the cow and the sheep. They drink water twice a day, early in the morning, bring it here, get some water, and then it was on these pastures over here, tie them out, and then we have probably 2 or 3 o'clock, come back here, and they drink, and then you put them up. And then you see you come back and be here before, you get going and stuff. But it was always busy. And the first thing on morning, I just said there was a phone call around the center standpoints. Once we had to go to work at the plantation, they would leave home here at around 6 o'clock to walk across. So they'll find 5 o'clock, they come and catch water. And last trip, normally we got a 50-gallon drum to fill up. So the last trip, we have a full of like that. So you start the last trip, you hold a bath, and you move. And all the ones who got to go to work early, they would be first. That was understood. It was a protocol. Then third time we had to catch the school bus. That would be the next day. Catch water, you bathe. Then it was to go to school. Then they would come and bathe last. And then after that, once the children bathed and so on and gone off to school, it's then with the people with the animals stops. Come and then water the animals. And so it's always ordered. Very ordered. That conclusion and so on. And this is to where they gather and they share. It's not gossip necessarily, but you share information. What's happening with somebody else and so on. So they had a lot of social interaction around these samples. So it was essential to part of our country. And each one had its own peculiar culture. Because this one, the guy, the peer who owned there, Mr. Cullimore, for the stick liquor. And then Mr. Cullimore, he got a bit too long. First day, I could use decent language. Then if you don't move your cheeks, stick in your backside. Right. I use a little more colorful language. So you move, and Mr. Cullimore gets what he wants. But he was very angry. He was very angry, so I could choke it on. He could, it was going to be a stick. He would take stick and toss it and trick you up. It was good. So nobody messed with Mr. Cullimore. But we understood that, and life was peaceful. But I say, this was one, it was one, top of the hill there. And that had another culture altogether. That was you come, you go, you hang around. Then there was one just over where the Pentecostal churches. And that, then, because every culture right now is one place would run church. But that one would always have water. So everybody would have a sample over there and try and get the water from water. So that was one that always had water. And then up Peterson Road, on the back of this white house over here, was another pipe over there. Because we lived over, my family lived on that side before we moved over this side. And that is where then we would assemble there. So you had a whole lot of little children out there. So that's where you're going. You had their boyfriends and girlfriends, but they didn't know that you were boyfriend and girlfriend. They're all in mind. But that's how we socialize and build relationships. So I got to take another move, then we go down a hill there, up a hill, and that has another story. So I said, boss, that the trip terminates here. That line is my father's land. So then, right in this corner here, used to be a shop. Actually, this is called the Lodge. It's called the Lodge Hill. I suspect there was probably some fraternity or something here. But there was a building here that's gone now. But that is where called the Lodge. And then there was a shop there, one called Maud Phillips. Maud to my great aunt. But she was known as a philanthropist. She would give if you didn't have anything, you can't pay, she would still give. So she was known for that. When she died, then my aunt came over and on Baby Park. Then I grew up eating the sugar barrel in a shop over here. Right. So my aunt ran the shop that was there. And then when she migrated to New York, then it was sold, and actually the shop over there now, that structure used to be. And then there was a standpipe was in here as well. But there was another standpipe in here. So that's probably what I saw. So that was number 2 standpoint. And then the one force down here, we got water from here. Then you had the pickups. Back then, I pick up, they had them in the butter sellers. I pick up with them back on the benches, and they would come here and turn around, and then head back out and go down Rock Hall. But here is where we come to buy the groceries and so on. And then, on a limited basis, over there would have some liquor. But we're going to take another stop further down from here, and that's where all the rum and the gambling and the fights and things with the place out there. So we crossed by the church and we stopped there, and that was another little hub. But here was the first one. Shop there first, and then another shop there. So on the first shop, and then there was a house here called Vaughn's. Again, she was a baker, and every Sunday she would bake this spread. And people from as far as Mount Gale Village would right across there and line up here to get spread. I thought they were good. You got pots of bread, so you got first from Corner come here, Mount Gale, all over the place come here to get Vaughn's bread. Unfortunately, the house burned. But that was another landmark in Josey Hill where you could get some good hot bread. I have not tasted any bread like hers before or since. She was good at it. And this corner here, had a tailor, a fellow called George Fitzpatrick. And so he made the uniforms for the boys and so on. So that was his full-time job. He made all the clothes for the boys. And then at some point he started making uniforms. My mother was a seamstress. She would make a lot of these school uniforms for the children, St. Clements and Sandra and all. And he would make a lot of the male clothes. But then he did a bit of both. My house was right at this corner here. You see the Burnetts above here, the brown house. He was known, he worked in the work. He used to keep the work clean, parking clean. He was known for that. And down this road here, this is Freehold Road. Down there is where you can, there's another way down to St. Clements and Lawrence, is down through here. But there's a old people's home called Clear Joy. And that road. That's why I go down there, so it's right down this road. It's right down here, so you go down here. So if we can't get down to Pike Corner and say, but ain't in the gully above that on the hills, we can go down through here and actually walk down to St. Clements. I don't know, we got to drive all around and go down Chancel and come around. But this was another area I could walk and go down to Pike Corner, but it got a house with a beach. But here was a high bar activity. So it's another former times. And there was another tailor further down as well. And the house at the bottom there, he was the cut here. He was the barber. I say had the tailor, the baker, the barber. There was an upstairs structure. One guy called Milton Boyce. Milton Boyce is the guy who had the pickups. He was supposedly one of the better off members of the community. And downstairs, you would have the dances and so on. So that's where you have a lot of Sunday and Saturday night activity in Josey Hill. With dances at Milton Boyce place. And of course, across the street then is the church. This church was established back in 1949. Right? From what I understand, it was on the other side of the road first, and then came over here. It's now run by Pastor David Headley, one of my cousins, but his mother, but his grandmother, I think was started it, and then his mother took it over, and then it's passed on to him. But it's been here for, like I said, since 1949, and still remains very active in the area. On the other side of the street, with the cars parked there, there used to be another shop. That was Miss Roach shop. Now that was a bigger shop, so to get a wider variety of groceries at that shop. Then where you have your little shed there, that's now a young lady, she sells fish and chips and so on from there. That's the eating spot now. But there was a shop schema, and that's where you go to get your drinks. The fellas would do a bit of gambling, and that was the hang. That was another block by today's standards. But the fellas were there on Fridays when the fellas finished, like we call it road board fellas, they hold to clean the road and so on. That's where they go first and get drunk before they go home. Because most of the time you see these fellas go there and then they stumble all the way home from there. And then I had one guy, he would have his donkey and he stopped there and he drank and his donkey take him home. Okay. And then around the corner, Leslie, call it Leslie Corner, that road then takes it down to Mount View. But the other standpipe, that number 3 standpipe, that's the one that would not go dry. When all the others gone dry during the crop season, that one would always have water. Right? And then people from all over would come there and get water. Alternative then, if you can't get water, they're too busy, they go down to Lowlands, down through the hill, come back with a bucket of water on your head, and by the time you get home then you'll be probably wet, the water splashing, coming through the hill. But here used to be quite busy with activity between church and the little fetes and the shop, and then the fellas holding some drinks and so on. That's the good thing, back in the day they had no fights and so on really, but you had a good cuss out. But that was the extent of it. And then by the cuss Friday and then Monday, you start stop talking. So there was a lot of animosity and lingering, sort of confusion going on. Okay. But again, no, you see again the housing has improved significantly. Because above here we had a lot of board houses. Here you see the wall structure above here. That's where we used to come to watch the TV. And they had a show, it was Dark Shadows. I think it was what Dark. I think it was Dark Shadows. And they had one of the characters, Barnabas Collins. Right. So we come and watch Dark Shadows, and then go home and run up the road because we too scared. Because it was one of the horror movies, our shows. And Barnabas Collins with the two fangs. You watch the movie you watch the TV through your fingers, and then run home. Afterwards, frightened, yes. So that was structured there. Is where we used to go to watch TV. That was one of the first TVs in the district. So every evening around 6 o'clock, we would all assemble on the step to watch Wagon Train and Dark Shadows and so on, and then run home after, frightened. Right, so this road actually is Peterson's Road. Okay. And then over here would be Lambert's. Okay. So a lot of people on this out here worked Lambert's. And Lambert's we will go to Brett Cane to suck and get potatoes and everything else. The farm, people work on the plantation, Lambert's plantation, would use this road, this track, and end up going across, that be Barbara Green, and down through the gully and up. Also, the water from you see how here come down a little channel? The water from this side then runs all down behind St. Clement's Church and goes to Charlotte Bay. And again, all up here now we used to be grape trees, dunks trees. That's where we used to get lunch. Run up with those. This was our terrain to run. This here was another little shop too. We used to sell like kerosene and biscuits and soft drinks and so on here. But that was on a smaller scale. Right, just a shop was outside of here. And then there was another barber too. Burgess. Right. Right. So I brought you here because so over there is where we were first. Up on the hill out there. And again, you can see from out here, you can see all that play corner. Wherever you go, you can see like, you see that's a little bay up yonder. Okay. Right. Like all here, there was none this bush here, and this we would cut down through here, cause like, our dog is I was born below there. We would go down through here. Oh no, this is track here. We get on this track here, and we go down through behind bush there, and then down to St. Clement's, down to St. Clement's School. And so where the lady is. Jane, there was a host there, Miss Gill. She was the evangelist in the area. She was always preaching. She was this supervisor for spiritual guidance, and it's there. So, right. So there, I had one there, and I had a wall house was there. Mr. Corbin. That just after he died, I had a big fire there, and that was the end of that. Right. But then the gully runs. That channel runs right all the way down to the corner. That bush. So every summer, the children would, which every morning we get up and we chop wood. We chop wood, clear the gully, and then you will go and raid the down trees and the plum trees and say. And then you carry the sheep to bring with the sheep, and then you stay out in the bush until you're ready to go back in with the sheep. And basically you fill your stomach on fruits. But then we had no monkeys around. So you had, and that hill had guavas, had a big plum tree, it had golden apple, had akis, I had the sugar apples. Then over on that side, they had a tree, a huge plum tree. So it was some big plums, and we would go on that tour. We had a variety of fruits that we could fill our stomachs on without any problem at all, and nobody would miss them. Because every day we go around until the season done. You know, and then they say the land belonged to other people, but nobody cared really. Everybody farmed to everybody else, so you go just make sure I take all. Okay, but we had good times, and it's now sound nostalgic talking about it. A lot of memories are coming back, and they were very fond memories because we were, again, even like now we say quite peaceful. It isn't too crowded, you know, and everybody coexisted peacefully, you know. And I think that is part of the legacy of this particular village, is that we haven't had a lot of aggressive behaviors towards one another, you know, and everybody was very helpful. And I think we all took interest in each other's families and the children and so on. And I think that's why there's still so much order within the community, because it started from our foreparents. They came along trying to maintain a particular order and a sense of community. Yeah. Right.